open and punch him in the mouth, he his face fucking swollen.
Welcome to another Three Aficionados. You know who it is. We're talking about cars, watches, an excuse to have a beer in the middle of the afternoon. And we've got Daniel, Peter, Steve, inappropriately, always taking racist comments on the fly. So today we're going to be talking about new drops from Singer Turbo. We're going to talk about some interesting Ferrari events and unveiling of the Competizione from my consigliere. That would be Daniel, and my poor Italian accent, and slightly stereotypical, and already into the racism. And we're also going to talk about cars and watches, updates of what's coming and what's going. All right, with that, let's get into it and let's pop it off for Super Bowl Sunday, boys.
Hey.
3, 2, 1. And Daniel has ginger tea. No, it's an invisible fist. Is it just a fist? Are you going to drink from a fist there, Daniel?
I need to restart.
So fucking anticlimactic. With Daniel restarting and dropping off, the dark web finally got him. What we got here now, boys? What are you pouring there?
We are drinking the Leffe Blonde today. Thought I would join the usual for you guys and try it out. And I had one the other day and it was actually pretty good. So,
and sadly, none of us have Leffe to go with you, but I have one better. I've got Delirium Tremens, and it is always a solid, good medical beer because it has a pink elephant. And for those who don't know, Delirium Tremens is what you get when you go into alcohol withdrawal and you start having visual hallucinations with pink elephants. And that's your medical knowledge for the day. Again, a reminder that my inappropriate is not a reflection of Alberta Health Services. Thank you. And so Daniel is no longer with us. So we've now made the new announcement that Daniel is out of the Three Aficionados. It is now the Two Aficionados because Daniel can't seem to get a good fucking internet connection. Let's get into, we'll update whatever the hell Daniel's probably drinking. It's most likely ginger tea. And we'll just be shitting on him while he's away. What's on the wrist today, Peter?
I threw it on a couple days ago when I got back, but rocking the Tudor. I don't know. I just love this watch. I don't know if you can ever really go wrong whenever I wear this. I didn't take it with me on my tour there, so I decided to put it on when I came back because I just felt like wearing it again. And holy crap, is it ever heavy compared to the G-Shock? So it definitely feels like you're wearing a real watch on your wrist. And yeah, I love this thing. It's beautiful. And yeah, I would say definitely probably my favorite. So you
don't take it on the tour. What's the tour that you're doing?
My tour was my first practicum tour for my ambulance practicum for my paramedic there. So yeah, I got 3 more to go. And I just thought as cool as it would be to like bring it along and be like, oh, like it's part of the process, I don't think it would be safe or probably the best option either. So probably awesome. Smart. Look who's back.
Well, so we talking, Daniel, and we just made the announcement, Daniel, while you were away, that we've gone down to the Two Aficionados, and you are now excommunicated because you're internet in the dark web. Let's catch you up. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Do you actually have something?
I do. Yeah. I just had the unfortunate experience of putting a glass of water behind my computer and then knocking my computer over.
Oh no.
Knocking my pint of water everywhere.
That's the real reason is actually the dick pic came up, right? I
wouldn't have reacted that quickly if that's all that was. I would have had a laugh first. No, too many electronics for me to have a laugh about that until after I've made sure everything's safe.
And what is the choice drink of today? Unfortunately, we were talking about how Peter is out of the loop and finally went to Team Leffe, and none of us had Leffe because Peter did not communicate to us that he actually bought the Leffe because he's always buying Leffe at like $18 prime. Apparently in Lethbridge, they ask for way too much.
It's the expensive Leffe, the extra expensive Leffe. It was like $18.49 or something ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I looked at a couple places too, but we finally were just like, I'm not looking anymore. So,
well, if you can look like a Mickey So, I have business cards that might get you a discount. And for anyone who might know Mickey So, please do disregard whatever I might be potentially doing and getting discounts with liquor. But what's Daniel drinking?
We got one of these nice Daura beers going on here today.
Daura.
I enjoy it. It's Spanish.
Very nice.
It's light, easy drinking. Good with paella.
Also, for those who are not on the YouTube feed, you'll see that Daniel has spilt the paella on his computer as well.
No, I would have been logged off for the rest of the night.
Very nice. Well, we already got into what's on the wrist while Daniel was cleaning up his laptop. What's on your wrist there? What was the janitorial choice of today?
Thanks for still including me in the conversation. Feels good to be cared about. I've got my my gun of choice on my wrist today, the Victorinox Dive Master, 500 meters, until I finally pull the trigger and get my gun license, known as a PAL here in Canada. This will be my rifle of choice. It's the only bolt action item that I currently own, and I love this thing because once upon a time Steve said that when you wear it, it feels like you're wearing a gun, and the moment I heard that, I thought that's exactly what it feels like. That is exactly right.
We both know that you have another form of bolt action in your pants.
Don't make me pop the trunk.
Wait, are we talking about the girth?
I don't know.
All
Let's
right.
talk about watches.
Yeah, well, I'm wearing the Cermet, because this is what will lead us into a segue of a little bit of recent car event news that we'll get into in a little bit. This was my watch of choice to the Ferrari event, the unveiling of the Competizione, which we'll get to. But first, why don't we get into a little bit of watch news? I actually want to discuss this briefly. I didn't even run it by these guys, but no need to actually consult them, it seems.
Hey, I'm the doctor. You consult with me.
So we've got the Tudor Black Bay 58 bronze, which I feel like we're overdue for discussing with Peter, because this, I think, is pretty much the perfect Peter watch. No?
Yeah, I'm a fan, 100%. I think there's a couple of things I almost like about it a little bit more than my current watch. I think the size is a little bit more appropriate. I think it's like 39 if I'm correct. And I don't know, just it definitely is interesting, a full bronze case. But one thing I do like about mine that's a little bit different is I think the bezel on this one is more brown than mine currently is. And I think mine is almost more like of a kind of orangish color, and I may be incorrect, but
yeah, I think that you do have a little bit more orange cues. What I love about this is they didn't just take a Black Bay 58 and then make it in copper. They've actually updated some important things. One that I really love about yours is that you have the 369 positioning that's like an Explorer, and two, that it has a new clasp that's like a sliding clasp lock. That's like what you get in a Rolex clasp. So for some reason, I can't seem to scroll at all on this, but that's probably more a function of my old browser. But I think it's a winner in my opinion, and I feel like Peter needs to get this. This should be your next grail. I feel like this can replace your aspirations for the Rolex Oyster Perpetual. This is a lot more obtainable, and it's cheaper too.
How much is it?
I think it's 4,000. I think it's basically similar pricing to the 58.
Really?
Still. I think it's 4,000 something US. So maybe just a little bit more, I imagine. Yeah.
I could definitely see myself. Maybe
that's a nice piece, but you got to scroll away. Oh, thank gosh! You're gonna make me motion sick. Stuck on that image. I thought I was gonna throw up, and then I would just forever have that feeling of nausea associated with the Black Bay. That would have been terrible.
Though it's a little bit of dip. different color. I do, yeah.
How about this? Does this make you nauseated here? When it's just like,
Nothing could be more nauseating than you right now.
thank you. I appreciate that. That's it. We're going back to two aficionados. We're going to dose aficionados.
No aficionados next week.
That's right. We're disbanded. Fuck y'all. That was the first time I think I said y'all. Fuck all y'all is what I meant to say.
All of us say y'all frequently.
Y'all,
I think
yeah.
it's mostly you.
It's weird.
I
It's
say y'all.
infiltrated our dialogue.
Very
No,
Canadian.
there you go.
Y'all.
Are you nauseated yet now?
That's mean. That's mean. You're not getting any brownie points right now for that.
I also love the Pelagos.
Yeah,
that's a nice
FXD
watch.
Pelagos is still my number one, I gotta say.
Mhm. And it's
It
blue.
comes
Too.
with the-
That could do the blue for me as well. But this thing, yeah, the 39 bronze case is a little bit, I like that a little bit more. I think this thing's like a weird, it's 43. It's like strange. It's a weird size. And yeah, it's the pain in the butt. Like trying to find the straps for it and stuff like that are super difficult because it's not the same size standard bronze or 58.
You get the strap as well with this, which is nice. You don't normally get that with the 58. It's either strap or it's the metal. So yeah, I mean, it's treated like a precious metal watch, and so the Canadian dollars is 5,410. I think it's 4,000 something in the US. But I think it's pretty cool, and it's actually the first bronze watch I'd say appealed to me. So I feel like we need to call this the Peter.
The Peter.
or maybe
like
the little Peter, because you've got the big
Peter.
Peter, so this is little Peter.
The big Peter, yes, that's the little Peter. I think that's a very good point. Maybe that's something I would love to see this thing in person. I wonder if I don't know, probably not yet, but
Can we call it the 39 millimeter Peter?
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
I think I'm not you, but my opinion is that 43 millimeters suits an 8-foot tall gorilla from Lethbridge. Like, so like having a watch that's that big, it's still like, it's not even massive really by like big standards, right? You got to break 44 mil or bigger to start getting. You're on the cusp of like a larger traditional or larger classic piece, but like it's the right size for how big you are. If it was on me or Steve, it wouldn't. I mean, maybe the smaller case would make more sense.
No, I get what you're
We
saying.
have weak wrists.
43 is not like to the point of being like too overly large, right? It's just like an okay. Yeah, and I feel like sometimes I think it's bigger than it looks, and it's like, I don't know, maybe it's not that big. Depends on the day. Some days it looks bigger.
I think the Tudor on repeat website is crashing our connection. So it's either that or most likely Daniel's dark web jizz that he put on the back of his computer that he had to wipe off there. But let's get into the car news. This is the new Singer Turbo Study. It was like a 1-of-1 experimental one. So it was basically they've gone with an air-cooled 911 Turbo, and they've given it the Singer Touch. I'm surprised that it went with like the accordion bumpers, where the prior Singers, the 964s, they previously had like, very smoothed out, nice bumpers. But this is based upon a 75 930, so it's different from a typical Singer, which is based on a 964. Either they've done Targa, they've done Coupe. I'm not sure if they've done a convertible, but this is pretty cool to me. I really like the one signature, this air vent right in the rear wheel well kind of flare, and I really like the color. The question is really, how much is it worth? Obviously, I don't think that this replaces or eclipses the DLS. I'm not really sure if it would necessarily be one for me to aspire to, but I think it's pretty cool. It gets the nod of my head. I think it got some shade on the internet, but still pretty cool to have a Singer touch to a turbo. What do you guys think? Is this a hit or a miss?
It's a Singer is always a hit. It's always out of my price range. It's always in the dream car range. And I don't know. I think you'd have to be pretty jaded to start criticizing Singer at this point. They make very cool and somehow unique pieces.
Yeah, it has really nice touches. I think that the whole like white or cashmere interior is kind of like, well, you're never going to sit in that. I have no idea why people spec their cars like that, but I think it's pretty damn timeless. It's a nice update to it. And if it just got rid of the accordion bumpers, it would be pretty much perfect to me for a 75 refresh. I'm surprised they didn't go with like a 964 turbo. I still look back and kick myself for not getting a 964 turbo that was for sale here for like 115 or 120 or something like that. Now they've just gone crazy. All 964s have gone nuts. But yeah, I think they're great cars. And I could only dream of one day that I could potentially own a Singer. I think even Chris Harris had to sit on the long wait list after being, associated with the brand and being one of their ambassadors. But still, to me, this doesn't replace either the DLS or the regular 964 Singer, but it's super cool to me. I don't think we have too many more details aside from it's been restyled. It's been revamped. Engines putting out probably somewhere between 450 to more than 500 horsepower. It's probably been lightened to about 2,800 pounds, and it just looks beautiful, and it's great color. I love that duckbill rear wing, but it kind of makes me wonder about my current dabbling and thoughts around buying an air-cooled 911. And I've been in touch with some guys who are interested in potentially selling me like a G50 or a 964. This is an 87 G50 911, which I think looks great in black. They're talking about that being potentially for sale. I think it's like in the high 90s. It's still a G50. I still remember kicking myself for not picking up one for 62. And they also have a 964, which I wish that they would sell to me. But we'll see. That's kind of like what I've been kind of negotiating in the background. I'm kind of holding out for having something like that right now, just as a bridge until I get something like really killer, like a GT4 RS. I think that would be kind of a cool bridge, but the market is just so crazy right now. Yeah, that's the small update there.
That's cool. Yeah, it's just too bad it's got those fucking ugly accordion bumpers on it.
Yeah.
So
Other than that,
You're like, oh, by the way, I hate these cars with accordion bumpers. Here's a car that I'm thinking about buying.
well, it's not a
With
Singer.
accordion bumpers.
Well, if you're gonna revamp it, at least get rid of the accordion bumpers.
yeah, that's fair.
I
So
don't know.
going-
It's an
going
original
over-
touch that I think looks good on the Singer. I think it looks a bit too accordion on the original Porsche. You can tell it is a bit squeezed together looking, or a bit stressed. But on the Singer, it's just like nice tight creases in there, and kind of adds a cool retro touch to it that, I don't know, maybe if you take it away, it would modernize the exterior of the car too much.
Another update that's I'm still trying to find a Ferrari 458. So I went to this Ferrari event and I wore the Kermit or the Cermit, and they had some crazy cars like the F12 TDF and the LaFerrari hybrid, the LaFerrari Aperta actually, which neither of them were for sale, nor are they at all in my punching range, but still like jaw dropping. Immediately had to take photos of this, but it was for the Competizione update. I'm actually going to be seeing it personally in the flesh on Monday, so I'll have some updates. But they did just have a recent unveiling of it, and if you want to see a recent unveiling that I unfortunately wasn't able to get video of, go check out Epic Win F50. He has like the sheet being taken off of it. It looked pretty cool. But actually it was slightly anticlimactic to me. I mean, for something that has been kind of something that I was always aspiring to, I'm not so sure. I mean, it would be really cool if it was offered to me, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you? I feel like these two like just stunted my impression when I see a LaFerrari. It's like, well, Competizione is cool, but well, that's a LaFerrari.
Yeah.
That thing's big, man.
Yeah,
It's one of the coolest cars ever made.
definitely.
Look at that thing.
It's still
Yeah.
still like stands out. Okay, so of the Holy Trinity, the LaFerrari, the 918, or the McLaren P1, what are you going for?
LaFerrari.
LaFerrari?
Yeah.
Mm,
What do you think, Peter? I feel like you're a McLaren P1 boy.
I don't know. Like, yeah, that's hard. It would either be it would for sure, I think, either be the P1 or the I don't know. Honestly, I think I probably would go P1.
So I feel like it's kind of like Mistress versus Mary versus Take to the Track, you know? The
Right?
one that you want to have at the racetrack, probably the McLaren P1. But to me, every new update to a new McLaren that comes down the pipeline, aside from the Gordon Murrays, the actual McLaren supercars, when there's like a Senna around the corner, obviously the P1 was the one that was like really the pivotal car. But I find it slightly kind of cheapens it. But it was still a cool car. So if I had to go to the racetrack, I'd probably want the P1. But if I had to have like a jaw-dropping experience, I feel like it'd be a LaFerrari. Obviously, the one that I'd want to, if I were ever offered one, I'd want the LaFerrari, and I'd sell it, and I'd get a Carrera GT and pocket the rest of the money. But the one that I'd want to own, to know that I had the peace of mind that it wasn't going to kill me in my wallet. I mean, obviously, if you had any of these cars, you wouldn't give a shit, but it would be the 918, of course, right? Like, of course, the Porsche is probably the least likely to give you problems down the line. It's probably going to have the most durability, but that's probably the way I'd view it. So if I had to make a choice between all three, I mean, the one to die with, if there were no values, no practicalities, it'd be the 918 to just drive forever. I feel that's my opinion, but I had to be the Porsche fan.
I think they're all like, they're all unattainable hypercars. They're all designed to be track monsters.
Definitely.
Like, yes, they were designed to be capable of being driven on the road, but they were designed to be the fastest cars around the track that were out at the time. So they give you a similarly fast experience, but providing it likely is a little bit differently from one to the next. And maybe it comes down to just driving style and preference when it comes down to which one you want to track.
The mind-blowing thing is that if you could rewind time and you had the money, it would be 918 for sure for me, because the 918 program allowed you to get everything. The 911R, every GT car. So to me, I think that pays off in multiple levels. The LaFerrari, you definitely have to have multiple Ferraris to ever be even considered for that, right? Obviously, you'd have to have multiple V12s and probably prior, like Enzo or whatever. But yeah, pipe dreams. It'll never happen. I won't catch it. But maybe the next supercar, maybe that LMDH Porsche, we'll see if I can just like sell my, all my kidneys, both kidneys, all my kidneys. Like I had 3 or something like that. Yeah. Speaking of potentially selling kidneys, we were talking about the HQ Milton experience. I'm going to be going to San Francisco for a conference, carefully, worried about obviously COVID exposure. But we were talking about the potential of flipping watches and trading in too. And so I was like, well, remember we talked about the 3 watches that I'd consider maybe trading up to. There was the Daytona 16520, the Red Sub, or can't remember the third one. Oh yeah, the Steve McQueen Explorer too.
Yeah.
And so I had inquired with them. They had sold that 16520, but they said, oh, well, we got this other one in, and it's watch only. and it looks pretty amazing. And I sent them information about my 2 watches. So the 2 that were on the chopping block, and Daniel will kill me for even considering this after we just talked about how it was his favorite watch, but he'll be happy about the outcome of this, were the Kermit, the original Kermit, not this one, the actual first anniversary LV. And that was like box and papers. It didn't have the outer under box, but whatever. It had everything else, and I just serviced it. That plus a 5513 that we've previously shown before, that's like with the gold numerals, as Peter has a COVID attack there in the background. Those 2 for the chopping block as a trade-in, but obviously this would actually require cash, because they were like, you know what, this is going to be 38 grand. I was like, what's that going to look like? So I said, here's the information of the 2 watches. They're like 12,000 US plus those watches. I was like, really calculating out what's my total cost. I was like, maybe, well, I could bring them out. We'll meet when I'm out there, but maybe the most I think I could do is 10 grand US. And they just completely ghosted me. I like followed up with them. I really am under impressed with their professionalism level. I mean, now I'm probably blackballed if they ever did listen to this, but whatever, fuck them. There's no way I'm throwing 12 grand US plus a Kermit plus a 5513 and then to be ghosted where there's no response, and they're just like, they just don't even give me the time of day even when I follow up. I mean, this is nice. This doesn't look like it's mint. It looks nice, but it definitely looks like it's got some swirly, some dings. It's been worn, and that's fine by me. And it doesn't have a complete set. That's fine, but it's still a Grail. It's a 16520. For those who don't know, it was the more modern Daytona that really got them to be much more popular. That had the Zenith movement that got updated with like 200 different changes of movement changes, but still very timeless with the Panda look. But it is a white dial.
So why don't you talk us?
Daniel's going to say this is bullshit. You should tell them to go fuck themselves. So let's let Daniel go ahead and rip into him.
I would say that if their way of doing business was a bit different and you wanted the watch, then I wouldn't have any issue with you pursuing it.
Exactly.
What I dislike is when any buyer or seller is, either disingenuous or outright rude.
Yeah.
That's a massive turnoff.
Yeah, for sure.
There's
and it's not like I'm just
selling. Things do come up on the market from time to time. It's not mint condition.
No.
Like it's in good condition. But there's a difference between mint condition and good condition, and it's a big difference.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a well-worn piece versus a mint condition piece.
Yeah, and it's also not like one of the rare pieces. Obviously, it's a white dial 16520, but it's not like it has an inverted 6 like they had that in that one where they screwed up the 6 and made it a 9 at the very bottom in the sub dial there. And it's not like it's a complete set. And regardless, as I totally agree, if they were just willing to play ball, because I was like, you know what? Obviously everything is negotiable. You haven't seen my watches. I'm happy to bring them and show them to you. Let's set out a time. I'll come by on the 16th, and we can do it later in the day, because that's exactly when my flight will get in. And just like no response when I was like, I'm thinking 10. They're just like, they were like so firm initially when they were like 12. That was it. So I was like, whatever, that's fine. That makes me feel better that I even considered it, and I've wiped it off. I'm not going to deal with them. That's fine. The market's ridiculous. And to me, to think about that, it's a 2 watch trade-in plus 12 US or 10 US, which isn't even 10. It's 12 that they want, which is basically like 15 grand. Like, I'm basically buying a car from them, from shitty car dealers. So to me, move on. There's many other watches. And to me, this is great, but 116520, the subsequent model where they went with the in-house movement is still quite nice. I would go black dial rather than white dial. To me, the 16520 I want in the white dial because that really is very unique. Whereas the 116520 in the black dial looks better than the white dial to me because I don't like that the sub dials are like silver. So you have like zero contrast and zero legibility. But at the same time, I've got 3 Daytonas and I'm still begging for like precious metal meteorite dial Daytona, which is really actually more hotly anticipated in my mind, like one day of getting. I feel like that's a possibility with my local AD, but yeah, forget it. I've let this go.
That begs 2 questions. One being, what is it that's different about this watch beyond it being a retro piece and its initial lineage, like its initial piece in history, like initial place in history, that makes it interesting? And what is it different enough from any of your Daytonas to actually be worth going through the trouble of pursuing?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like it's a pivotal watch that, you know, I'm never going to get a 6263 because the prices on those are crazy. This was the most I was willing to stretch. And if they're going to make the experience shitty, if they're going to be, you know, just flippant and not even respond to me, then that's the nail in the coffin. I mean, I won't say forever that I wouldn't even consider it from another dealer, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to go to this amount of effort when, like, you know, it's not like I'm really haggling that hard. I'm just saying maybe $2,000 difference, plus I'm giving you the 2 watches, and we'll see. If you want it, you want it. If you don't, you don't. But at least let's maybe meet and you could take a look and I could arrange to bring the 2 down and take the risk of being like, you know, pickpocketed and losing the 2 watches while I'm down there, which is a high risk to me, especially in San Francisco. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever, that's fine.
So like the scenario that the other thing about the scenario of you pursuing this watch that I don't like is adding another Daytona that to the outside watch world looks like pieces that you already have.
Yeah.
And in doing so, getting rid of other unique and rare pieces in the process that don't look like the rest of your collection. Definitely. So you're like, you would be just consolidating your collection down to a Daytona collection rather than a Rolex collection.
Yeah.
And regardless of its value, I mean, I don't really give a shit if it's worth $38,000 or $18,000. You know, like, as far as just, you know, my own subjective experience goes, like looking at that watch, I don't see it being that much, I don't see it being worth the rest of your watches combined plus money, when you could keep those watches and then take that money, buy that new Tudor, throw it in there, get the new Tudor, then go ahead and get the Oris that we were talking about a little while back, right? Get the Oris big pointer date.
I feel like you just want me to get you guys watches. We'll get,
and then you can get the Baltic.
Daniel,
right?
pointers.
I'm just making like a legitimate. I think I'm making a semi-legitimate point.
No, you totally
are.
Like, I'm glad you're
you can add and expand your collection in a pretty dramatic way.
Yeah.
And hold on to your current pieces while already having a piece or 2 that resembles something you would be pursuing.
Honestly, when I take a step back and I'm like, okay, so 12 US.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's Cartier Santos that we've already talked about. I love that. That's Tudor FXD. Boom.
Yeah.
And I get to keep them both. I feel like the 5513 isn't getting much wrist time, so I feel like I'll eventually part with it. So that even justifies it even more. It's just the problem is that there's nothing new coming down. And I think that that's the problem is like when there's like a hold up because of the way that things are with cars and watches nowadays, everything is inaccessible. You know, it just tempts you, right? Especially with the occasion of going to San Francisco, but now I'm fully turned off on it. So whatever, I'm going to go to San Francisco, enjoy myself, not even bother with them. I'm not going to their shop, and that's fine. And now I got to figure out what watch to wear. I feel like it's Explorer 1. Explorer 1 is under the radar. I would hate to borrow back the Moon watch from my wife and somehow get that stolen off of me. the most that I'm willing to risk the Rolex collection, it would be the Explorer one, or I could wear like a G-Shock, but I feel like that would look bad with a suit. Or I could wear the SKX, but I feel like I'm too lazy to put it back on the bracelet and have that jangle on my wrist all the time and be pissed off by it. I'd want to wear it on the strap, and then that would look stupid with the suit. So I feel like that's basically narrowed it down to Explorer one.
Yeah.
Or should I just go gold Daytona and be in a dipshit?
Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the SKX is that it's too cheap, and the problem with the gold Daytona is it's too expensive.
The gold Daytona is
You picked up on that, eh?
it is so perfect for me. Nice and a little green. Mm-hmm.
That's what we have in Canada, our Daytonies.
Yeah, gold Daytonies.
Yeah.
A lot of
Oh,
tuning.
that's nice. That's a fancy Daytona you got on your arm there.
You're buying or you're selling?
Buying or selling?
Buying or selling, okay?
Just buying.
Just buying and selling. Mostly my body. I want to flip back to just the car things, because I feel like while you're on a roll of talking me out of the watch upgrade, let's knock this back to the car upgrade. So we talked a little bit about the air cooled. I'll be very cautious. We'll see. Maybe no accordion. We'll see what the pricing is looking like, or what the 964 is looking like. The reason why air cooled tempts me a little bit is because it might open the door to getting back my 997 RS in the future. Maybe I can tempt the guy who bought my 997 RS back and be like, here's a 964 and 87 G50 if you can just give me back my car. That's mainly the temptation, and also it'd be a nice short transient experience of an air-cooled car. But the problem is that the market is just so crazy. The hole that I've noticed is, I was hoping that it was going to go down, but I feel like it's stagnated, is the M2 CS, the BMW M2 CS. And I've kept an eye. It went up a bit, but then it kind of leveled off, and now they're trickling back down. Most of them are listed at 115, but nothing's moving. And I noticed with the idea of the possibility of trading in the Golf R, keeping my wife's BMW 330 as a daily driver all year long, and having something a little exciting, something that I could still drive on the really nice days all year round. M2 CS is kind of cool. And so I saw that in BC, there's a Volkswagen dealership that actually has one for sale. And I was like, maybe they might actually be compelled to give me a pretty good trade-in, and maybe they don't really know what they've got. This is the CS right here. It doesn't even have CS in the title. It's got the blue with the gold wheels. Obviously, the carbon fiber details that you get, I'm pretty sure, with all M2 CSs. And it's a manual. It's pretty much how I'd spec it, with black leather interior. It kind of kills me to see that there's snow on those cup tires. And it's listed for 150, and they just kept on going 1,000, 1,000, 1,000 every week. And they've stagnated at 115, but I see that everyone else has trickled down to 115. I'm like, they say like a very competitive financing rates. I was like, would they be willing to like give me the same financing rates, which are like 1.99% for the Golf R towards this? And would they give me like a good trade-in and like give me high value because they know they could easily sell my Golf R? This is kind of tempting. This is kind of looks awesome. Yeah. But at the same time, it's still above MSRP. But if I could get it at MSRP and get higher value for the Golf R and get good financing, it'd be kind of cool. I don't know. I feel like Daniel's all on board with this car. But at the same time, it's an M2 at 100 and more than 100 grand, which is just like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, two things for me. One, cars are expensive now.
Yeah.
Cars are freaking expensive now, So it's just how it is. It's a lot of money though, but I don't know. These are supposed to be incredible cars.
Yeah.
And I would be very excited at the prospect of you having this car. Like, I think that, as some people may be aware, you've owned a 1M previously, which How much did you purchase that for?
Half the price.
I was gonna say
I
like
think it's
55,
57.
57?
And I
Right.
sold it for 62 about 3 or 4 years ago.
Maybe 4 years ago. You know,
Which allowed me to get a lot of other cars, so I don't regret that. It would be nice.
no, I'm just like, what the fuck? It's doubled from one generation to the next. And I know that a 1M and an M2 CS are not identical by any standard, but it just seems like it seems like a very unexpected stretch. I didn't expect to hear you say that they had gone up this much, because the last I had checked, they were, 10 or so less than this.
Well, as soon as they had announced this, I immediately put a deposit down when it was like coming out, and then they reported the price, and I was like, Jesus, forget it. And then I walked away from it, and then they've just like held up there, and the market's been crazy. And also, these are quite rare. And this was Evo Car of the Year, and it's supposed to be amazing. And Chris Harris bought one and wrapped it in green. He's posting photos of like just hooning it all over the track. I feel like it'd be kind of cool because it does fill an unmet need in the garage. It's a cool car. I feel like it could potentially be a long hauler. It could be something that I could keep for a long period of time if I really fell in love with it, like I did with the 1M. I mean, I owned the 1M for like a decade, which is probably the longest I've ever owned any car. It is actually. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I think it's worth a discussion. If all things equal, if that 87 G50 seemed like a really good price and deal, or the 964 was a really good option, I feel like I need to discuss with the guy who got the 997 RS and be like, would you take this off of me? Because I feel like that would be great if it just was like a catalyst to get back to the car that I wish I never let go of. Because if I could get back to a garage that was the F430 GT2 plus a 997 RS, I think I could stop. As crazy as it is to say that, other than like, if there's a Porsche supercar, that is a 3-car killer garage. You build around it just with one good daily driver. God. I mean, I know that they're very one-dimensional. They're all, 2-seaters. If I have a family, it'll be a pain in the ass to have a kid. I'll have to chuck them in the frunk. But all 3 cars would have a frunk. So you just throw the baby in the front. Or, I could just get a vasectomy. One of
Roof rack for the baby seat.
Baby roof rack.
It's a rear facing baby seat on roof rack. What's the problem?
You heard it first. Roof rack babies.
That's right. Very secure.
Yeah.
Safe.
Roof rack baby sounds like a punk band.
Roof rack baby. It was the runner-up for the name for this podcast. It was either 3 Aficionados or Roof Rack Baby. But it was nice.
You heard it here first. Roof Rack Baby.
Roof Rack Baby. It's trademarked now, or copyrighted, or whatever the fuck. But,
I said it once, therefore I own it.
So, what's the vote between the two of you? The possibility, if an air-cooled car like the G50 or 964 got me back to a 997 RS versus going to this, because they're both similar price range, right? Because I just got an email from the guy, and maybe I won't share the screen of his email, but he said that G50 that I showed earlier, the black with the accordions that we just shit on, he was saying that was looking like about 90s, I feel like. And then he also had a 964, but it was like 96,000 kilometers. He's asking for about 100. That's kind of crazy, I think. And so the 964 has got like 95,000 miles. That's miles, not kilometers. He wants 105 grand. I don't think so. 86 Euro Carrera. That's not a G50 actually. And that's 117,000 kilometers. He wants 85 grand. To me, I'd be way more tempted to go for the M2 CS if I could get a decent deal.
We all know cars lose power. Well, we know. Some of our listeners may not know. Cars lose power as time goes on and as kilometers are put onto the vehicle. Once the break-in period is over, after a certain period of time, motors start to lose power. And you've got a car now that's quite old. well, they've got a car now that's quite old that has very high mileage on it. And, you know, while Porsches have always had a very formidable reputation, nothing is going to prevent it from having that loss of power. And you'd have to really want to have that hipster retro experience that people are paying an insane amount of money for. Whereas the alternative is one of the best cars right now available that would just run circles around that Porsche.
Yeah.
And for the same price, you have, you know, a far more capable vehicle that is an enhanced version of a car that you already love. You know, I mean, I like all Porsches. There's something fun about them, but there's a certain price point where they start to make less sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think
And mileage as well.
That M2 CS would make me way happier than either of those other two cars. I mean, I've driven a 964, and I haven't even driven a non-G50, but everyone aspires for the G50. Apparently, the older transmissions are still very lovable, but you know, honestly, what's going to be enjoyable? Ultimately, this is all about enjoyment, and I feel like at those price points, I'm definitely going to lose out even if I try to sell it in the future just to get my 997 RS. I think the M2 is an interesting one just to see what it looks like as far as a potential deal. But for the time being, I can wait. I think the market's just stupid. So it's just like the watch market. So we'll see. But I think it's worth a discussion, especially with Volkswagen, about the M2 CS. I think that's the one that I'm really pursuing at this point, just to see, kick the tires. I mean, there's a lot of potential. The 458, maybe they'll find me one at a decent price, but I think I still have to wait until the market cools down, because those are still going for crazy money, over 300, but we'll see.
I think an M2 CS is a great option.
That's
and
the one
I
that's the most
also don't think it's right to say that it wouldn't be worth trading towards the Porsche that you want to get back. You know, the Porsche that got away, it, you know, like an M2 CS is an extremely desirable car. It's not an extremely desirable car at 100 grand. It's extremely desirable, period.
Yeah.
And it's rare. And just like any RS Porsche, there are going to be people who want that vehicle and would take a trade, you know, plus 7 or 8 Rolexes, and they'd be good to go.
No response.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I want 7 or 8 Rolexes plus 4 of your cars. No, period.
Not even a no. I didn't even get a no. That's the fucking thing. It's like, what the fuck? Are you shitting me? It's not like I'm, you know, discussing chump change here. It's not like we're talking about a $2 watch. It's not like I'm emailing you about a fucking G-Shock. I mean, no offense to G-Shocks. I'm loving I'm actually wearing a ton of my Casio. That's probably getting the most risk time. I probably have more buyer's remorse over the John Mayer one, which is hilarious because John Mayer is the only one that I actually paid for. Hush hush. But you know,
well, you know, you spoke to a good point. Like, there are people I know, like yourself, for example, that don't enjoy dealing with those kinds of people, and people deal with them out of necessity. It's not out of, you know, it's not out of pleasure. It's not a fun experience dealing with watch salespeople and car salespeople. No, yeah. It's pulling teeth.
I mean, I indulge a lot of this. You know, I do it with a lot of my experiences with putting deposits on a GR Corolla or a Civic Type R. But to me, at least somebody responds to me. You know, even the Corvette place, they're like, they even forgot about me. I'm like, hey, where am I? They're like, oh, it's not going to happen if you're not on the list. I'm like, I thought I'm on the fucking list. I gave you $1,500 dipshit. The email says like, oh yeah, you're 67. I'm like, for flexibles.
But anyway, there's people with the money who don't mind dealing with this shit, and they get the watches they want and the cars they want. There's people who can afford it that don't want to deal with it but go through with it anyways, right? Then there's the people who have the money that just say, fuck it, I'm not interested in dealing with any of this.
Exactly.
And
that's my
there's a lot of business that's lost out because there's a lot more well-off people out there than businesses somehow realize.
Yeah.
You know, I know it sounds like a weird thing to say, but it's like they're ignoring a huge market of people who can't afford things that don't want to deal with bullshit.
I mean, right
It's
now
like,
they've
fuck
got
it.
the luxury to treat me like that, but you know,
Yeah.
in the future when inflation dies down and there's less demand, good luck trying to sell a watch like that. But I digress. Regardless, fuck HQ Milton. Yes, we will see about the M2 CS. We'll see about the air-cooled 911s, but I don't think so. And for right
And
now,
we still want to deal with Leffa.
definitely Leffa. Leffa needs to sponsor us. Ferrari needs to sponsor us and give me a competizione.
Peter needs to
I'll sell a
sponsor
lot
it.
for that shit. I would liquidate a lot for a competizione.
I need a new watch.
And Porsche needs to sponsor us or just give me the new supercar. But yeah, for now, the collection stays as it is with watches. The car collection, we'll see about the M2CS. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, fuck you, 115, that's the way it is. And you pay us all the money. But that'll be the loss. They should be the most motivated because they're a Volkswagen dealership. Who goes to a Volkswagen dealership and is like, I would like a BMW, not the BMW dealership that has the same car, or like FAF, who are known to deal with higher end cars. So I think they got to drop it. They drop it by 10. They give me the same financing rate. Then we're in business. Yeah.
Let's see how it goes. I think you should be more. I think you should be more flexible with that number.
Well, we'll see. I mean, ultimately, I have nothing to lose, right? I'm in a very fortunate position where I have two killer cars and a great daily driver that I ultimately don't really even need right now. So, yeah, it's all good.
These are also cars that would only potentially lose a theoretical small amount of money, right? You know, like an M2CS that you buy for 115 is not going to drop to 85 in 1 year. That's not going to happen.
No.
So,
but they were listed at 80, at 105 and 95 just a few months ago, and I was thinking they'd probably go lower. I feel like the DCTs are probably going to go lower. I think the manuals will hold. So I really want that manual. We'll see.
Yeah, I think the manual might even go up if that's what you think. Then I'll even push that beyond that.
The problem is it's just like the 1M. It's a cult car, and literally you need to know to know. You know, to most other people, they'll go, "Oh, that's a nice BMW," and then you tell them how much it's worth, and they're like, "What? No."
People are only just starting to realize how expensive cars are becoming and how expensive they're going to be in the future.
Yeah, it's just
cheap,
crazy.
affordable cars won't exist anymore. Every car is going to come with all the computers available, and that's going to make all of them expensive. You know, and this is just the first early days and indicators of it.
I mean, in the long run, though, us three we're a unique breed. You know, the younger group of people are not getting into cars, and as people die or get older or become my patients, they are less inclined to want these cars because they're dead or they can't.
Hopefully we'll be the only three sitting in the crowd at the Barrett Jackson auction then.
That's right.
They're like, Steve, you can't buy all of them.
$5.
I'm buying one of these fucking cars, Steve.
Steve, how fucking cheap can you be? This is your 10th car, for fuck's sake. Anyways, I gotta go put on the Super Bowl for my stepdad. He's probably here and being like, "What the fuck? I got the chips and salsa. Where's the fucking show?" So enjoy, boys. Thanks again for a good episode. In summary, I like the Singer Turbo, but not for me. I like air-cooled cars, but probably not right now for me. M2CS, very possible. I think that the copper Tudor 58 is Peter's future watch.
Yeah.
And Daniel has a wrist action / rifle bolt cocking that cannot be equaled, mostly when it comes to, you know, watches and masturbation. All right, boys.
I'll take a Victorinox deal while we're at it. You know, why not? Let's throw that in there.
Victorinox and Leffa.
I've always
Throw it in
loved
there.
Victorinox. Send me some stuff.
Sounds
I'll
good.
take it.
All right. Have a good evening, boys. Thanks again.
Good night.
Happy Super Bowl.
Take care.